it is December 1st, meaning it is the very first day of Bookmas, so that means I'm opening the very first reading vlog that I'm doing for the month. Now, if you watched my December TBR, you will know that the first book on the docket is going to be Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Now, I will admit that we are starting the day a little bit behind because I had full intentions on completing my last book of November yesterday. I had 2 hours left of the audiobook that I was listening to, which is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, but I did almost nothing but editing videos yesterday, and because of that, there wasn't very much opportunity for me to listen to the audiobook. So I started today with those same 2 hours. I got about an hour done while I was getting ready to film this video, so I have an hour left. But as soon as I'm done filming the videos that I have planned for today, I'm probably gonna go do some house chores and finish The Dead Romantics so that I can immediately start this. So hopefully between today and tomorrow, I can get this done because on the 3rd of December, I have to go ahead and unwrap the next advent calendar book. So from what I understand, this follows our main character, Elsie, and she kind of has a meet cute with a guy and they instantly hit it off. The chemistry and attraction is real. They kind of have a whirlwind romance and they elope. And they've literally met nobody else in each other's family. And then just a few days later, Elsie's new husband is hit by a vehicle and he died. And she's having to navigate this with in-laws that she never met and who don't know her. And so it's going to add an extra level of complication to the grief that everybody is experiencing with this situation. And I'm looking forward to it. Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors of all time. I know that she's going to do this story justice. I believe that this one might actually be her official debut novel. I could be wrong about that, but if it is, I'm definitely going to give her a little bit of grace in that regard, but I'm just really intrigued by the story. And then once I have read this, I will have completed her backlist to 0 up until her new release comes out in June of 2025. So I am very, very much looking forward to this. I just need to go ahead and catch up with life a little bit. Anyway, I'm gonna go because I have to film additional videos, but as soon as I've actually started Forever Interrupted and I have some thoughts and feelings on it, I will come back and give you an update. Hello everybody, it is Monday, December 2nd. I am coming at you looking a little bit like a hot mess. I'm actually off work today. I took the first few days before Thanksgiving off, and then I took the 2 days at the start of this week off just so that I can focus on Bookmas content. And so I'm reaching the tail end of that here. But I also had an appointment this morning to get an injection in my SI joint. And I went in today and I was not expecting it to be such a process. They actually had me completely undressed, put on a gown. I was wheeled on a hospital bed into a surgical room where they had this big x-ray machine and they used it to help guide the injection. After the doctor's appointment, I hung out at Starbucks for about an hour and a half because I had a nail appointment this morning and I had some time to kill. So that's what I did. I just stayed there and I answered emails when they came in, even though I didn't have to. And then I also worked on some Bookmas content. And now I am officially home and I'm going to hunker down for the next couple of hours and do some editing. But I did want to come on here and give you an update because I'm over the 40% mark of Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I did start it last night, but I only got about 9% of the way through, which is not great. I wanted to be further along in the story, but to be honest, having to sit down and edit so much is interfering with my ability to get up and do other things, meaning I'm not able to listen to the audiobook as often as I wanted to. But anyway, I don't necessarily have too many additional thoughts about Forever Interrupted. It is currently reading exactly like the synopsis says that it's going to, right? It follows our main character, Elsie, and she meets her husband, Ben, randomly on New Year's Eve when they are both stuck waiting to have their pizza done. And they hit it off, they have instant chemistry, they hang out the next day, and it is a whirlwind romance, and by May, they have eloped. And just 9 days after they elope, Ben is tragically hit by a car while riding his bicycle on the way home, and Elsie is absolutely devastated. She is fully in her grief. But what complicates this more is that Ben's mother, basically his only living relative, did not know that Elsie existed. And she certainly did not know that Ben was married to Elsie, and their marriage certificate is not there. She really has no proof that she is his wife at this point. And his mother is really not allowing her to be a part of the funeral planning process or anything like that. She's just really not happy with Elsie's presence. And needless to say, Elsie is very much not wanting to deal with Susan or life at the moment. She doesn't want to get up. She doesn't want to eat. She doesn't want to shower. She's very much feeling the grief and the loss of Ben. And so I'm definitely enjoying it in the way that I enjoy a Taylor Jenkins Reid. You know, it's very compelling. It is well written. It's character driven. You are definitely getting a lot of Elsie. So you're getting Elsie in the present as she's dealing with her mother-in-law and the loss of Ben, but you're also following the beginning of their relationship from New Year's Eve up until the day that he dies. So you're definitely getting all of Ben as well. And it's very character driven. And y'all know that I really enjoy that. It's just nothing is emotionally compelling me at this point. I don't necessarily feel feel connected or invested in the story, and there's just nothing that's super remarkable about the story to me or that is really grabbing me at this point. I do have a feeling that we are going to see a lot more of Susan and Elsie's relationship develop throughout the story. I think that's going to be a big part of this, as maybe Elsie and Susan develop a relationship that they weren't expecting to have. It's just not blowing my mind at the moment, and I'm not emotionally invested. Anyway, that is the update. I don't know if I will come on here and update you again unless I have something else that I want to add to my thoughts. If not, then I will go ahead and check in with you when I finished it. So stay tuned for that. It is just about 12:30 on December 3rd. I'm on my final day off before going back to work, and I just got done filming my tier ranking for the Book of the Month thrillers, and so since I was already set up, I thought that I would go ahead and officially wrap up Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I literally only just finished a few minutes ago. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and settle on a 3.5 stars for this one. I enjoy this book for the same reason that I enjoy most of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books. You know what I mean? Her writing is absolutely beautiful. There are a lot of complex character and relationship dynamics going on here that is explored very well. The portrayal of grief, once again, is absolutely phenomenal because that is what this book is ultimately about. This is a book about grief. I was just never fully emotionally invested in this one. I think the main thing is I was never able to fully get behind this relationship between Elsie and Ben that only lasted about 6 months from start to finish. Now, I don't want to invalidate her grief by saying that because I do believe that her grief was real and raw, and I do believe that you can legitimately love somebody in that short of a time. I don't necessarily believe that it can be considered true lifelong love. And I'm saying that because I really believe that 6 months is still relatively new. It's still relatively a honeymoon period. And I don't necessarily know if you could really explore the full breadth of a relationship in 6 months. And so while I do believe the love between Ben and Elsie was real and legitimate, and I can understand that they were caught up in this passionate love affair that made them want to spend the rest of their lives together, I don't necessarily know if I was as invested or bought into the relationship. Now, I will say that I do feel like Elsie and Ben were fully fleshed out characters in this story. Taylor Jenkins Reid did a really great job of bringing to life their relationship, and so I could understand their chemistry and their passion and why they loved each other so fiercely. But by the point that they were getting married, I wasn't necessarily sure I was invested enough in their relationship to buy into that marriage. But again, I don't want to invalidate her grief because I do believe that her grief is legitimate. And I also know that the story had to be written this way in order to facilitate the relationship between Elsie and Susan. This was really a story about the ending of one relationship and the beginning of another. So I definitely understand why this book was written in the way that it was written. It just caused me to maybe not be as emotionally connected to it. And I will say that I was expecting more of a conflict between Elsie and Susan, but in reality, after Ben's funeral, Susan kind of comes to her senses and realizes that maybe she was a little bit harsh on Elsie, and she starts to extend the olive branch. You know what I mean? I was expecting a little bit more of a hill to climb with regard to that relationship, and there really wasn't anything there either. So like I said, I didn't really emotionally connect to the story. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and settle on that 3.5 stars. All right, so here I have book number 2. I don't know if you can see it right up here. I have book number 2, and we are going to see what it is together. Okay, once again, I have it unwrapped. I haven't actually looked at it, but I believe that I'm feeling some deckled edges, which makes me think this might be a historical fiction. So let's see. Yep, The War Orphan by Kelly Rimmer. This is definitely a historical fiction. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I don't necessarily know if I'm in the right mindset for a historical fiction, but it's part of the Advent calendar experience, so I have to do it. This says, in the spring of 1942, Elżbieta Rabinek is aware of the swiftly growing discord just beyond the courtyard of her comfortable Warsaw home. She has no fondness for the Germans who patrol her streets and impose their curfews, but has never given much thought to what goes on behind the walls that contain her Jewish neighbors. She knows all too well about German brutality and that it's the reason she must conceal her real identity. But in befriending Sarah, a nurse who shares her apartment floor, Elżbieta makes a discovery that propels her into a dangerous world of deception and heroism. Using Sarah's credentials to smuggle children out of the ghetto brings Elżbieta face to face with the reality of the war behind its walls and to the plight of the Gorka family, who must make the impossible decision to give up their their newborn daughter or watch her starve. For Roman Gorka, this final injustice stirs him to rebellion with a zeal not even his newfound love for Elżbieta can suppress. But his recklessness brings unwanted attention to Sarah's cause, unwittingly putting Elżbieta and her family in harm's way until one violent act threatens to destroy their chance at freedom forever. Inspired by the real-life heroine who saved thousands of Jewish children during World War II, the Warsaw Orphan follows Elżbieta and Roman's perilous attempt to reclaim the love and life they once knew. From Nazi occupation to the threat of a communist regime, Kelly Rimmer has penned her most meticulously researched and emotionally compelling novel to date. I imagine that this audiobook is going to be a little bit on the longer side, so I am definitely convinced that I'm not going to be able to finish this by the end of day tomorrow, but I'm going to go ahead and start this today. I'm going to get as far through it as possible, and I will give you an update once I have started it. Good morning, my friends. Another day, another car clip. I'm essentially just coming on here to let you know that I am currently failing at my mission to finish a book every other day. Unfortunately, because I started this project behind, I have remained behind. I wasn't able to finish the Warsaw Orphan this morning like I intended because I wasn't able to listen to it last night as much as I wanted. So I woke up with about an hour and 40 minutes remaining in the book, and now I have just about 48 minutes remaining in the book. And because I know that I will finish this book by the time I get home tonight, and by the time I get home, the lighting's going to be terrible, my husband's going to be around, I wanted to go ahead and open book number 3. But just some quick updated thoughts on the Warsaw Orphan. I originally thought that the primary plot of this was going to be Elżbieta helping smuggle children out of the Jewish ghetto. That actually ended up being a fairly small portion of the book. Apparently, she couldn't continue the work because she had fake papers. Because of what happened to her brother was shot for helping the Jews. They thought that she might be in danger, so she was given a new identity. She was adopted by a lovely couple, and that's where she's been for the past few years. So they think that she's still in danger, and they can't risk smuggling her into the ghetto with fake papers just in case she's caught. So that was abruptly put to an end. And Roman, within the ghetto, joined this resistance movement. There was this huge uprising. The entire ghetto was basically destroyed. He escaped. He ended up really injured, and he ended up with Elżbieta and her family recovering, and he stayed there for several months. And then after that point, they were all starting to move on with their lives and go on, and then it's just a continuing story about their experience in the war. So this story is less focused than I was originally expecting, and because of that, I feel like it's a little bit meandering. I feel like it is definitely taking a while. I was just expecting there to be a little bit more of a point and purpose to the story, which there doesn't seem to be, except for telling the experiences of this family, of this person during the war. Once I finish the story, I will of course come on here and let you know my overall thoughts and feelings on it. Anyway, let me go ahead and open this book and see what I'm reading next. Okay, I was able to unwrap it, and since I have to go ahead and use both of my hands for this, I wasn't able to actually open it on camera so we could discover what it is together. But it is a thriller called Gray After Dark by Noelle W. Ely, I believe is how you pronounce this. This is the third book that was actually sent to me by Sherry. Thank you so much to Sherry. I finally discovered your third book. I believe that I discovered this one very, very recently. I have never heard of this author before, but this one actually sounded really intriguing. This says, when a tragic accident sidelines Miley's dreams of Olympic gold, she takes a summer job at a mountain guest lodge. The Frank Church wilderness is remote, but it's the perfect place to train and recover. Local lore about a staffer who died years ago doesn't scare her, but it should. Miley's plans take a terrifying detour when she's abducted during a morning run. Held captive in a desolate off-grid cabin, she'll have to use her athletic prowess, cunning mind, and courage to survive. But as the nightmare at the cabin escalates, Miley is forced to form an unlikely alliance and attempt a risky escape. Can she outwit her captors and survive the wilderness before it's too late? This says that it's actually inspired by true events, and I am here for it. It sounds like this is going to have an isolationist aspect that I absolutely love, and it's definitely about our main character's fight for survival. I am very much looking forward to starting this one, and hopefully it will be a quick read. But for now, y'all, again, I'm expected to have a very busy day at work, so I'm gonna go ahead and head inside. Hello, friends. What is with the scary story lighting? Well, our power went out, literally right as I was coming home from the gym. I'm pretty sure that I witnessed the transformer blowing because as I was about to turn into our neighborhood, the sky basically lit up green, and I had no idea what that was. Somebody just posted in the neighborhood Facebook group that a transformer blew in the neighborhood, so that's fun. My husband was just getting ready to start dinner, and now he is going out to grab dinner. But I thought that this would actually be the perfect opportunity to come on here and give you an update because I literally also just finished the Warsaw Orphan, and unfortunately, it wasn't as strong of a reading reading experience as I was expecting when the story started. I don't really feel like this book knew what it wanted to do or what kind of story it wanted to tell overall. So when I first started the story based on the synopsis, I thought this was primarily going to be centered around the smuggling of children out of the Jewish ghetto, and I thought that it was going to be like a love story also between Elżbieta and Roman as they are working to help these children, right? Well, the actual smuggling of children was actually a very, very small portion of the story, which I was not expecting. And then I believe I mentioned in my last clip that Elżbieta has to stop visiting the ghetto for a specific reason, and ultimately after all of the resistance fighting, the ghetto is basically leveled and Roman is able to escape. He is gravely injured. He ends up finding Elżbieta and her family. They help nurse him back to health. He stays there in their building for several months. And during this time, apparently Roman and Elżbieta, they develop a deep friendship and they essentially apparently develop romantic feelings for each other. So I will say that I do plan on giving some spoilers here so that I can adequately express my feelings about the story. And one of my main issues is the fact that the relationship between Roman and Elżbieta was all tell and no show. Like all of a sudden, they have been spending a lot of time together and they are growing romantic feelings for each other, but you don't actually see any of that on page. It is essentially told to you that this happened and you are supposed to believe it. At a certain point after that, Elżbieta and Roman are once again separated because Roman is going to continue fighting with a different resistance group this time. He is a very angry person. He is filled with a lot of hate and anger, and he is not going to stop until Poland is free. At this point in the story, the Germans have retreated and the Soviets have taken control, and that is not good enough for him. He wants Poland to be free, and he is willing to put himself in harm's way. He is willing to die and do whatever he can. And at this time, Elżbieta and her family have kind of retreated from Warsaw. They have gone to this place that her uncle used to own, and they are kind of hiding out until everything calms down. And it's during this time that something really upsetting and tragic happens to Elżbieta. She is essentially sexually assaulted by multiple Soviet soldiers, and as a result of this, she winds up pregnant. And so she is sent to a convent in order to have the baby. And obviously, this experience very much changes her, and she's very, very ashamed of what happened to her. And because of that, she does not want to see Roman. But then as time goes on, as she starts to grow stronger and she starts to become more like herself, she doesn't want to see Roman because she doesn't want his anger. She wants peace. So she has her baby, her parents start to raise him, and then again, additional time has passed, and Elżbieta and Roman are apart, and things are happening, and then Roman gets himself into even more trouble, and they have to bail him out, and then it's just like this continuing cycle. And like I said, I really don't know if this story understood what it was trying to do. I really felt like this story operated on a curve. Like the top was when they were smuggling children out of the Jewish ghetto. I was really interested and invested at that point. But then once they left the ghetto, it really just declined, and it continued to go in all of these different directions. So unfortunately, while I thought that this book was going to be like a really strong, solid 4 stars, I think it's going to end up being a 3, just because by the end of it, I was a little bit frustrated. I was a little bit bored. I felt like it went on entirely too long. I felt like there needed to be one solid direction to the story, and there just wasn't. All that being said, I'm really, really looking forward to diving into a thriller. That is what my heart wants at this point. No more historicals or anything like that. I'm ready to just be fully involved in a thriller. So that is the update. I hope you enjoyed this lighting. All right, I'm going to go wait for dinner and hope that the power comes back on soon. Hello, friends. It is Friday morning, and in a crazy twist of events, when I arrived at work this morning, there was no power. So I had no power at home last night for a time, and then I came to work and I had no power there. So I waited for about 70 minutes. I was finally able to get into my building and grab my stuff, and I told my boss that I would just hang out at a local coffee shop with my laptop and try to get things done. And she's like, you know what, go ahead and work from home. So that's what I'm doing. And of course, in between the work that I'm doing, I'm taking the time to edit and all of that stuff. So I thought it would be the perfect opportunity to come on here and give you an update because I have started Gray After Dark. This is definitely something that's going to read very, very fast. It is not a long audiobook at all. I'm currently listening to it on 2.35 speed, and it's about 4 hours and 15 minutes. And I think I've listened to a total of about an hour today. But essentially, this follows our main character. Her name is completely slipping my mind at the moment. I cannot remember what it is, but essentially, she is an athlete currently trying to train for the Olympics. She is in Idaho for the summer, working at this like resort that is just opening. And in order to kind of get herself back into conditioning shape, she is running every morning on trails throughout the wilderness. Like there's like vast expanses of wilderness out there, and she is running on the trail. One day, she is taking a dip in the lake out there after a run. She encounters 2 very dangerous men who end up essentially kidnapping her, and you can tell that some bad things are going to go down. And Archie is currently on his bullshit. He is all kinds of crazy. So if you can hear that, that is him being nuts right now. But anyway, I have essentially just gotten to the point where she has been taken by these men, and I do not know what is going to happen after this point. I assume this is going to be a survival story about her trying to escape from these 2 men, using kind of like her athletic prowess to get out of the circumstances. You know what? Pause. Let me show you what this guy's doing. Archie, can you tell me what you're doing, sir? Okay, I'm going to leave you there. Cool. Anyway, back to ignoring him. Like I said, this is a very, very quick read so far. I have a feeling it's going to be just kind of like a page turner. I assume that things are going to get really intense and she's going to have to try to use her athletic prowess to survive. And it's exacerbated by the fact that they are like essentially in the middle of nowhere. There's no cell phone reception out there. Nobody knows where she is because they didn't know what trail she ran on. So it's really going to be about her on her own. And like, I'm here for it. I'm enjoying it so far. It's nothing super substantial or anything like that, but I'm having a good time. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this cat out of the window and I will check back with you when I have more updates. Hi friends, so it is a little bit later this afternoon. I am currently outside of my gym about to head in, but I have actually just reached the 50% mark of Grey After Dark. So this book is moving extremely quickly. This is certainly a very fast-paced, plot-driven thriller. Following the main character, her name is Miley, by the way. You're following her as she is experiencing this kidnapping. At this point, she has been taken to the home of the two men, and she meets a woman who lives there. She realizes that this woman worked at the same summer camp where she is currently working, and everybody thinks that this woman was killed by a bear. But that's not true. She was kidnapped by the same men and essentially kind of like broken down, and now she has major Stockholm syndrome. She loves her life there. She loves being with these men, and now she's trying to make Miley feel the same way. We are also following Brent, who is Miley's best friend and who is also in love with Miley, and as soon as he figures out that she is missing, he goes to find her, and he is on the warpath. He is desperate to find her. I only have 2 hours of listening time left, and I assume it's going to go very, very quickly. They're probably going to have to pack a lot into the story, but I'm having a great time. It is very, very engaging for sure. I'm really interested in the story while I'm reading it, and I'm glad that it's moving so quickly. This is kind of exactly what I needed because it's something I don't necessarily have to concentrate too hard on, but I'm absolutely absorbed in it. So it is going great. Like I said, I really, really want to finish it tonight. I don't know if that will happen, but maybe I can finish it tomorrow morning, and then I will be as close to on time with this project as I could potentially be. Fingers crossed, but now I'm going to head into the gym. It is currently Monday morning. I am just sitting at my desk editing because that is what today is going to be, a huge editing day, but I needed to come on here and update you because I haven't actually talked to you since Friday night. And do you remember in that clip when I said that I was doing really well with Grey After Dark because it was such a quick read? My goal was going to be to finish it by that night, and if not, early Saturday morning, so that I wouldn't be too terribly far behind anymore. Well, that didn't happen. Friday night, I actually did really, really well. I got down to about an hour and 13 minutes in the audiobook, and then Saturday, I didn't listen to anything. Saturday, I woke up and I immediately tried to get a jump on editing because I knew we were going to be gone all day at the Run Fair. We got home in the late afternoon. I immediately went back to editing, and then my husband and I ended up starting a Christmas movie because we tend to watch a ton of Christmas movies during this time of year. And so the day really, really got away from me, and I didn't end up listening to everything. So I still have that same hour and 13 minutes left in my audiobook. So the plan for today, as I mentioned, is primarily editing. But in between that, I of course also have to do all of the chores that need to get done. And while I'm doing the chores, my goal is to of course finish Grey After Dark, but that means I'm actually a full book behind. Friday was when I was supposed to finish that book, and then I was supposed to have finished another book by today. So I actually have the next book here because I want to immediately jump into that once I finish Grey After Dark. I'm not going to finish it today, but maybe we can finish it tomorrow and start to get a little bit back on track. So I have the next book here. We're going to go ahead and unwrap it together as per usual, and then I will start that as soon as I finish Grey After Dark. Okay, so I have gone ahead and unwrapped it so it wouldn't be super loud on camera. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it out and we will see what it is together. the children edition of Sacred Garden. Now, if you remember, I'm allowing myself not to read classics during this project. However, I've actually already read this, so I wouldn't have to worry about reading it anyway. I'm just collecting these children classic editions because they are some of my favorites. So this is essentially now a book trophy on my shelf, which means I can now essentially pick whatever I want to read in replacement of this book, and I have just the thing. The Family Experiment by John Mars, which was so kindly sent to me by one of my subscribers, Andrea Barrett. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. You'll have to correct me in the pronunciation down below. I was not expecting this, but she sent me the sweetest gift note, so thank you so much to Andrea. I am so very excited about this. I'm also a little bit nervous because I really enjoyed The Passengers by John Mars, but I didn't love The Marriage Act at all, and so I feel like this is going to kind of be the tiebreaker. I'm pretty sure that this is set in the same world as The Passengers, like that near futuristic world. This says, some families are virtually perfect. The world's population is soaring, creating overcrowded cities and an economic crisis. And in the UK, the breaking point has arrived. A growing number of people can no longer afford to start families, let alone raise them. But for those desperate to experience parenthood, there is an alternative. For a monthly subscription fee, clients can create a virtual child from scratch who they can access via the metaverse and a VR headset. To launch this new initiative, the company behind Virtual Children has created a reality TV show called The Substitute. It will follow 10 couples as they raise a virtual child from birth to the age of 18, but in a condensed 9-month time period. Prize, the right to keep their virtual child or risk it all for the chance of a real baby. So I'm absolutely here for it. The goal, of course, is going to finish Grey After Dark immediately and then jump into this. I'm just going to have to find out where I can source the audiobook, and I'm really, really excited about this. This is not too terribly long. It's about 374 pages, and I'm going to do my best to read this as quickly as possible, but I'm very excited. So thank you so much again, Andrea, for this. For now, I'm going to go ahead and get my butt back in gear. We're going to edit, we're going to do chores, we're going to finish some books, and it's going to be glorious. Today is going to be a productive day, so let's get to it. Good morning, everyone. It is currently Monday. I'm about to start the day, but I wanted to go ahead and give you an update. I did officially finish Grey After Dark yesterday, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a very fast-paced, kind of a true thriller in that it was suspenseful, and there were definitely high stakes as you were getting the perspective of Miley as she's being held captive, and you were also getting the perspective of Brent as he is trying to find her. So both of these characters are in survival situations because Brent is essentially out in the woods for weeks tracking Miley, who was smart enough to kind of like leave a trail with her hair. I found myself really engaged the whole entire time I was reading. This is certainly a plot-based story, and typically those don't necessarily work for me because they are so plot-based and not character-driven. So this isn't certainly something that I was emotionally invested in, but I had a great time with this, and I would absolutely be willing to read more from this author in the future. And I did end up starting The Family Experiment by John Mars yesterday, and I am absolutely loving this story so much. I'm so glad. This is definitely set in the same near futuristic world. Essentially at this time, the world has become extremely overpopulated, and it's leading to an economic crisis. And because of that, couples cannot afford to have children. And so essentially what is happening is they are going to introduce this subscription service, essentially, where for a monthly fee, you are going to be able to raise a virtual child from being a baby to being an adult. And there's this whole entire metaverse system out there. And in order to launch this new program, they are doing a kind of reality TV show where a bunch of couples are going to have the opportunity to raise a virtual baby for 9 months. And in that 9 months, they're going to grow from a newborn to an adult. And everybody is going to be able to watch these couples raise their babies and give their feedback on the couples and everything like that. And the winner of the reality show is going to either be able to keep their virtual baby, or they are going to be given the money to have their own child, whether they do it biologically or whether they need to do like IVF or something like that. And so we were following 5 different couples and their virtual children and their unique experiences. And like I said, I'm having a great time. As per usual, the audiobook for this is really, really amazing because there is a full cast. Every single character has a different narrator, and there are also different aspects to this as well, as you're hearing like social media commentary and things of that nature. It is a little bit difficult trying to keep everyone straight because, like I said, you're following 5 different couples. Well, actually, there is one single man, so he is obviously very easy to keep track of. But you're also kind of learning about them and their history and what they are currently going through. So you're trying to keep track of who is married to who, what their past is, who their virtual child is. So it can be a little bit complicated, but I think that I have it for the most part. And it's just very compelling. I'm not entirely sure how John Mars comes up with this stuff, but he comes up with like the most unique storylines. I have about 2.5 hours left, which is a little bit more than I would normally be able to finish at this point in the day. On an average day, I'm able to listen to 2.5 hours from the start of my day to the end of my day, but I'm going to do my absolute best to finish this so that I only end up being 1 day behind. This one is going very, very well. So thank you so much again to Andrea for sending this book my way. It was such a surprise, and this story feels like something that I needed at this time. Anyway, y'all, it's Monday, and that means I have to go take care of the nonsense. So that is what I'm going to do, and I will give you an update once I've actually finished this book. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday morning. morning the 10th and I am about to head into work. I'm heading in late today because I realized that I forgot my key card in my office again. My building on campus is literally the only one that you need a key card to enter before 8 o'clock, and I typically leave it out on my desk after I get in the office so I can remember to take it with me, and I have been failing to remember to take it with me because I'm always in a rush to leave the office. And since I realized that I wasn't going to be able to get into the building, I decided to just work from home until about 7:30, so I thought I would go ahead and come on here and do the next unwrapping of the Advent calendar book. Did I finish the family experiment last night? No. I knew that I was ambitious thinking that I was going to, because these days, since I have so much editing to do, the last time that I'm able to listen to anything during the day is while I'm cooking dinner. So I had about an hour left this morning, and I listened while I was doing a little bit of my makeup. I didn't want to get fully ready because I wanted to get to work early to get things done, and that just didn't happen today. So things are going great this morning, as you can tell. I did go ahead and get the unwrapping started as per usual because I knew I was only going to have one hand. I have not looked at this, but I'm going to go ahead and quickly drop the wrapping and we will see what it is. Drowning by TJ Newman. Okay, I am really glad that I didn't end up picking this up at Murder by the Book because I was thinking about it. There was a signed copy there and I was thinking about picking this up, but I'm actually really happy about this because this is another fast-paced thriller. TJ Newman is a former flight attendant and she writes all of her books like based on that experience, and they're usually like thrillers taking place on planes. And my understanding of this one is that it follows a plane crash in the ocean and it's about survival. Look, it's not even all that long, and I know that I'm going to be able to finish this one quickly. I think at this point I've just decided that I'm going to be about 2 days behind in this Advent calendar project, and I'm going to have to try to catch up during my Christmas break. So anyway, I'm currently outside with the dogs. I'm giving them one last potty break before I put them in their crates for the day. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, head into work finally, and I will update you once I finally finish the family experiment and started drowning. Hello friends, let's catch up for a second because it's actually been a couple of days since I sat down and updated you. I think the last update was that I was still in the middle of the family experiment, and then I unwrapped Drowning by TJ Newman, which was going to be my next read. And it's been so crazy that I haven't had an opportunity to come on here and update you, and I feel like I'm behind on absolutely everything, especially this Advent calendar challenge. Today is day 12, December 12th, so I should actually be finishing my 6th book and unwrapping my 7th, and unfortunately I am still in the middle of Drowning by TJ Newman, which I will 100% be finishing tonight. But I think what the plan is going to be is that I'm going to end this vlog here. My original plan was to have 3 vlogs, one every single week of Bookmas, but that is just not feasible with how long it takes me to edit vlogs. And even now I'm struggling to allow myself to take the time to edit this vlog because it's going to take me more than a day to do, and I really can't afford to do that and keep on top of my Bookmas schedule, if that makes sense. So I think what I'm going to attempt to do is 2 vlogs. So one at the halfway mark, which is now, and then one around the 25th, and then it will probably go up around Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I haven't officially decided yet. It's going to depend on what I can do. Anyway, I mention all of that because I'm going to unwrap my next book in the start of the new vlog. But anyway, just a couple of quick updates. I did finish The Family Experiment by John Mars, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm so glad that I did. It was incredibly thought-provoking, as I find most John Mars books are. I love that they are set in this near future world, so it's still very relatable and it's not entirely unbelievable. In this world, it is so expensive. Normal people cannot even afford to raise a child, and these are people that would in our day be able to afford raising a child comfortably, you know what I mean? And they have to resort to other ways. Now, all of these people have their own reasons for wanting to be on the show. They have their own ulterior motives, and they're also, for the most part, hiding a lot of secrets, and all of that is revealed in the end. And I just found it incredibly compelling, and I'm very glad that it was a much better reading experience than The Marriage Act. So Andrea, thank you so much again for sending this my way. It was a complete and total surprise, and I'm so glad that I was able to fit it into Bookmas. Now, with regard to Drowning, like I said, I will be finishing it today, and I am having a great time with this. This is very intense. It is incredibly fast-paced. I enjoyed Falling, but I feel like I'm connecting with this one on a deeper level. Almost immediately as soon as the book opens, the plane that is the star of the show crashes into the ocean, and we're primarily following, I think it's 12 survivors survivors that are trapped in the plane under the water about 200 feet down. And so this is all about them trying to survive, as well as the people who are trying to rescue them. It is very page turning. You're very invested. You want to know, you can kind of picture all of this happening. I'm not usually a reader who can picture things in my head. A movie doesn't play when I'm reading, and I wish it did. But in this instance, it kind of is, because I feel like this is exactly the type of book you would expect to see be made into a movie. I am enjoying this a lot. Like I said, I will be finishing this today, and I'm excited that I'm enjoying it. It's definitely the kind of read that I'm looking for right now. Something fast-paced, something that's going to keep me interested through all of the distractions, and something that I would otherwise have normally been able to get through pretty quickly. But last night, we were actually at a concert. You will hopefully have seen B-roll footage of it. So we didn't get home until around 11:15 and didn't get into bed and asleep until midnight. So I'm a little bit tired today, but needless to say, last night I had no opportunity to listen to any more audiobooks, and work has been crazy. So like I said, I feel as though I'm behind on absolutely everything right now. We're going to do what we can to try and catch up. This weekend's going to be another busy weekend, so of course I'm going to take you along on all of it. But for now, I really need to go ahead and get my butt into work. So I'm officially closing out Bookmas vlog number 1, and I hope that you have enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.